What's up everybody, Swillow here, and today we are doing the next Pirate Warriors 4 character guide. I asked you in the last guide video who you want to see next between Judge and Cracker, and almost to no surprise, Cracker won pretty dominantly, so here we are. And Cracker's going to be a fun character to cover because he has a lot of interesting elements to him. I feel like he really brings something to this game that we currently don't have in the roster in terms of being a really technical character that has a lot of elements and potential to his gameplay. So, let's see. First off, let's look at his skills. Hold on. Alright, so skills. So this is probably one of my favorite skill loadouts for him. Square attack enhancement is really strong for speed types. This is going to allow you to output some pretty quick damage, and the square string is usually speed type character's best way to get damage. So this is definitely a really strong option for a speed type, and especially for Cracker because his square string is really good. Cheat death, pretty standard damage buff. Same with hero strength. You could also switch out hero strength for like a defensive buff like Undying. Then we have full force burst enhancement and resilience, which are two pretty staple skills to bring if you want to enhance your full force burst elements. And then concentration is a really good option for Cracker because he gets good damage off of his R1s. His R1s is definitely where he's going to get his burst damage potential from. So concentration is really strong so that you can get those R1s quicker. So I'll have to do a couple runs to show off all of his special moves. But right now we're going to go with Stick Pretzel, Biscuit Armor, Biscuit Smorgasbord, and Biscuit. Just straight up Biscuit. So let's get right in here. So first, let's look at his moves. We have the square string. So his square string, like I was saying in the menu, it's pretty effective, it's pretty strong. It has a lot of forward momentum. It has good range, especially for a speed type. Speed types normally don't have the best of range, but his square string has amazing range, so he can use it as a great damage and crowd control option. Just a really good option for him, and it pops the enemies up at the end, which makes it pretty easy to follow up after. Next, we have Square Triangle. So Square Triangle is pretty cool. He summons a Biscuit Puppet, and first they'll stab him, and then a second thrust, which will knock them away. You can normally run in front and try to intercept them before they get launched away. The timing is a little bit strict, but it's a possibility. And if you're noticing one thing, when you do his Square Triangle, you can actually move really quickly after. You normally don't need to use like any sort of dash cancel or anything because you can actually move really fast afterwards. And you could also do something pretty straightforward like this, such as Square Triangle into Triangle, which is a really good option, like a range setup. Next we have Square Triangle. So with this, he's going to put on the Biscuit Armor, and he's just going to run forward. You can actually cancel out of it early by jumping or dashing or whatever, but the main strengths of this is how fast it breaks armor. So good thing Jinbei's here so we can show this off right now. So you're going to see how fast I can break Jinbei's armor. 3 slashes and I break his armor. So the damage itself is not particularly great. It can work okay on generic mobs, but you're not really using this for damage. You're going to be using it to break armor. So that's its main value, but overall I think it's just a great move. It's definitely like a good move you can throw into a mob to soften them up a bit and maybe even kill some of the peons. Next we have Square Triangle. So let me kind of move away from Jinbei here because I know he's going to get in the way. So Square Triangle is really interesting. He'll summon a Biscuit Puppet, and the Biscuit Puppet will grab an enemy, if any enemy's in vicinity, and just hold them onto the ground with like a long duration attack. So this is really good for setting up some of your R1s, which I'll get into later, because his R1s, some of them have sort of slower startup. So if you can sort of pin down a boss type enemy and then you can bombard them with a lot of really strong R1 attacks, that's like one of the best values I found out of the move yet. It just looks cool as well. Definitely like a fun move to throw out and just go into all kinds of other fun stuff. So Square times 4 into Triangle. So he's going to summon 4 Biscuit Puppets, and they're all going to run in the sort of like plus or cross type angle. It's sort of supposed to be a crowd control option, I guess, but the angle they run at is a little awkward, so I feel like it's not the most reliable of crowd control options. One of the best ways to use it, I find, is to dash cancel it right as soon as the Biscuit Puppets appear. Once the Biscuit Puppets appear, you can dash cancel and then continue to pressure and chase afterwards. Once the Biscuit Puppets get to the end of their run, they're going to do a launch up attack, which is really easy for you to follow up after, as it doesn't launch them far away. Square times 5 into triangle. So this is a really fun move. He summons a Biscuit Puppet and launches them at the Biscuit Puppet, and then the Biscuit Puppet launches it back at them. And it's not like particularly strong, but it is a fun move, and you can do stuff like this. So I'm gonna do it. Whoops. I got messed up there. Alright, so we do it. They launch back, and I jump cancel and go into an air string. So that's a pretty cool way. It's like, it just looks really, really cool and aesthetically clean. To when they launches it back, you jump cancel into an air string or do whatever you want to do, really. It's a cool setup move, a cool combo, very stylish option. Square times 6 into triangle. Alright, that was weird. Alright, there we go. Square times 6 into triangle. So I'd say this is like his first really, really good charge finisher in terms of crowd control. He just launches a bunch of Biscuit Puppets forward, which has a really solid hitbox, covers a lot of ground. Let me try to do this again. If you run around them, you can get in front and sort of follow up, but you won't be able to run through them from behind because they're too close together. Square times 7 into triangle. So it's a standard sword thrust that has a projectile attached to it. It's like a decent alternative to just doing the regular square string, although I would say the main reason you're going to use this over just doing his regular square finisher is because of the range. The projectile it launches can hit more enemies, has more potential to hit more enemies. However, I think his regular square finisher is better in terms of following up and just in general. So you see that has some pretty intense blowback on it. It's not easy to follow up after, but it can be really strong if you're using it in a thick mob. Next, the air string. Or actually, let me talk about triangle first. So triangle, this move can be charged. So this is uncharged. Pretty standard, kind of weak. Here's level 2 charge. So he's got like a bigger sort of aura around his shield. He goes further, it's stronger. And then level 3. Definitely the version of this move you should be using the most often. So you see much bigger hitbox, he goes a lot further, more damage. Now overall this move isn't like the strongest, but it's really good to initiate a mob with because you can charge it. So I can be charging it ahead of time before I get into a crowd, and then before I start the battle I can just throw it out and then get in there and already have a lot going on. So it's pretty cool in that regard, I would say. Next we have his air options. So air square string. So one of my favorite things about this is the finisher is super easy to follow up after. He kind of spikes them down and they don't go too far, so it's actually really easy to follow up after with R1s and dash cancels and all kinds of stuff. Really good air string, to be honest. Square triangle. So this is sort of his dive kick option. It's really slow though, so it doesn't give you like that fast utility of getting back to the ground, but it does have a bigger hitbox than usual. So that's like one of the main values you're going to get out of it, is you can kind of throw it out to hit a lot of enemies and clear the space. Next we have air square square triangle. So this is a pretty interesting move, I think. One of his more fun air moves to use. He's going to drop Biscuit Puppets down and they're going to fall basically in a sort of circular space around him, which is good below, like on the ground crowd control. You can also dash cancel the second you see the Biscuit Puppet spawn. so you can kind of continue your stuff, but you also have to be careful with that because you could be pushing enemies away that the biscuits are gonna hit. Next we have square times 3 into triangle. So this is like a more extended juggle combo type attack. Overall it's not too strong, to be honest. It doesn't do notable damage. It doesn't like break armor effectively. It looks kind of neat, I guess. It's more of a style move, like more than anything. I don't feel like it has outstanding properties compared to other air options you could be choosing, but it does work if you want like a really extended duration attack. And it's not too hard to follow up after, but you'll definitely have to dash cancel. You could do some R1 follow-ups as well. Next, square times 4 into triangle. So this was like really interesting. Like, I guess it's a more straightforward attack finisher, but it also has like a really weird movement and hitbox to it. I would say use it if you're like really focused on a single target, but otherwise I don't think it has much value. It's usually better to just use his regular square finisher, similar to the ground, because it has better setups into his R1s and all that. So next let's go into the R1s I have. First, R1 triangle, which is the Biscuit Armor, I believe. So the Biscuit Armor, you have 2 attacks. You have the square attack, and then you can press triangle, which is like a stronger blowback move. So I would say like this is really straightforward. It can be effective, but I'm not like a huge fan of it. I would say just having his square triangle Biscuit Armor attack is more than good enough. I don't really see like the value of having that move because the damage on it isn't outstanding. But like, I guess if you just really want a really straightforward crowd control option, I would say that's the best value you're going to get out of it, because that's definitely one of the main strengths of the Biscuit Armor attacks in general, is that they just cover a lot of space. So if you're really in a situation where you just want to be hitting a lot of enemies very easily, I'm moving up here where I can have more enemies to fight. Let me try to show it off again here. We got a named enemy here. So you see, it can break armor pretty effectively too. Almost killed him. So you can actually do, I guess throughout the whole attack, you can do pretty decent damage actually. But I don't know. It's a good move. I think it's a good move. It's just not one of my favorites, to be honest. But it's actually not too bad. Okay, so R1 square. So I would say this is honestly one of his weaker R1s. He just thrusts forward several times with a finishing slash. The damage on it's not that great. The armor break is not that great. It's a high commitment attack. It doesn't have a lot of range. You can use it in the air, which is nice. And try to build it back up again. So you can use it in the air. You can actually hit things pretty well below you. I mean, it's straightforward, it's effective. If you want to play more without using the biscuit puppet attacks, then it gets the job done, but it's definitely not that strong. So now we have R1X. So this is just the biscuit. So this is more of a mobility option. Once again, the damage on it is not that great, and the mobility on it is not as fast as just normal running and dashing. So like his other attack we just showed, I think that it seems neat, but it's not strong enough. R1 circle. So he's going to launch a bunch of biscuit puppets forward, which you can actually move and control. But once again, it's not that strong. It works good as a safe option though. I would say that's like the best way to use it is for the safety. So you can definitely just stay at a safe distance while weakening mobs up, but the damage on it isn't notably crazy to make it an option that I feel like you're going to use too much. Alright, so let's go switch up our R1s, and the next set of R1s that I equip are going to be my actual favorite ones, and the ones I think are really, really strong. So those R1s we just showed, I would say overall they have interesting utility to them, but I feel like they're just not as strong as the ones that I'm about to show off next. Alright, so let's get in here. Full force burst. You know, full force burst is always very strong. I actually have both of my Muso specials I have to show off. Probably have to show those off in a couple of runs. We'll show off one right now. And then Jumbo Pretzel. This is a really nice move. And Hard Pretzel. So I'd say this is probably like my main loadout that I use the most often with him. And I'll get in here and talk about why I use these skills. So first let's build up our meter. Alright, so we got our stuff filled up. First let's just do the Muso special. Let me try to find Luffy for this. So this move's pretty solid, like solid for damage, and you can actually follow up after it. So you can actually like dash afterwards if you juggle the enemy, and it's very easy to follow up after. So it has very little recovery compared to other Muso style specials. Definitely really cool in that regard. So R1 circle, I believe this is the pretzel drop. So once you do the attack, you'll wait momentarily, and then a pretzel or biscuit soldier will fall right in front of you. And this move definitely takes some positioning, but it's really, really strong. Really strong. Let me try to use that on a named enemy so you can see how strong it is. The damage output's strong, but you definitely have to position it well. Alright, so got an enemy here. So as you saw there, it took like a pretty decent chunk of his life and his armor. So if you especially consider that it's a very passive ability, like the startup on it is very quick, very low commitment. You can dash cancel out of it instantly and it will still come out. And you can definitely set it up into a bunch of other R1s. It becomes a really strong move. It also hits like a good splash area in front. So it's like just a really good move to just be throwing out constantly as you fill it up. So you see I can just throw it out, I can dash cancel, and he comes a little bit later. It's really good. The main downside to the move is that you do have to position it very well to hit the targets that you want it to hit, but it's very effective for how low commitment it is. It blends into your gameplay pretty well. So next up we have R1X. Let me show this on some generic mobs first. This is like one of his best R1s in my opinion. So he'll summon the Biscuit puppet and they'll just stab. Yo, look at that. Like those enemies were dead a long time ago. So he'll just hold them there and stab them over and over and over. And this is so good after you break like a boss character's armor and just let him go to town on them. You can set up the other, the pretzel drop attack and all that stuff during that, and you can set up Muso specials, all kinds of stuff. Like, it's such a good move. It does a lot of damage. It does good armor break. It's great combo option. So let me try to get Luffy with his armor broken here. Yeah, so go into some stuff here. Go into a Muso special. I missed my pretzel drop. So I didn't work out as cleanly. He probably would have died if I actually hit all that stuff. But yeah, like the setup potential is amazing. The damage output throughout the whole thing is pretty solid. It's just a really good move. So basically all these moves I've showed so far, I really like them because you can just combine them super effectively and super fluidly into his gameplay. They're very low commitment. So when you get really effective at using these moves, you can combine them in interesting ways. I would say the only other move that I often try to fit into this mix-up is maybe use the one where he launches a bunch of biscuit puppets. I forget the name, but that can be pretty strong as well if you combine it with something like the one where the multi-stab. And then of course full force burst is pretty standard stuff. No like unique perks for Cracker. You just get faster, stronger. I mean, not stronger for a speed type, but basically just faster and all the other speed type perks. You can dash with less stamina, all that good stuff. But of course, very mandatory for Cracker's playstyle. Helps him just churn out more actions quicker and more effectively. So let's try to do some setups here. Let's find an enemy and see if we can do something interesting. Alright, so I'm gonna use R1X. We're gonna go into a Muso special. Dash cancel after. He bursted out of that, but if they don't burst out of that, you can get some pretty nice follow-ups. And I'd say that's pretty much it. Let me go show off his other Muso special, and then we'll be pretty set. I'll actually try to show off like my most elaborate damage setup on a single target using the square times 3 into triangle into his all of his R1 skills. So let me try to show that off. It's really cool when you land it off. Alright, so let's get in here. So I was talking about earlier how I think Cracker is a really different kind of character, or something. He brings something to this game that I feel like other characters don't have. And in regards to that, it's that he's more on the technical side, and he's able to do things like summon all the different puppets, dash cancel the animations early. In Pirate Warriors, some of the earlier Pirate Warriors games, you could do that with like characters like Magellan. He could dash cancel, and the Venom Dragon would still stay out. And some of those effects actually got lost in Pirate Warriors 4, like with Law's Room and stuff like that. When you dash cancel, the attacks just disappear off the field completely. So Cracker's like a character that retains some of those older Pirate Warrior elements where you can just stack a lot of things, cancel animations early, and keep them on the field, and you can just sort of flood the field with a lot of different options all at once. So he's really cool in that regard. So first, let's get all our R1s filled up. Oh, I didn't even show this one. Air triangle. So air triangle, it's really underwhelming, which is why I forgot to show it. It's just like a really quick strike knockback move. It does, I mean, it works for what it is, but it's not really gonna fit into a lot of his gameplay effectively. I would say like one of the strongest uses for it can be spamming it against giants. You can actually just like dash cancel with the full force burst and spam it against giants, and it can actually be okay if you have like giant killer, triangle attack enhancement and all that stuff. So I'd say that's like the most meta or optimal way I found to use that move, is just like literally spamming it against giants. But you have to have the right skill loadout for that to really have a lot of value, I feel. Alright, so let's try to get enemy lured away, and let's get full force burst going. So we gotta land square, 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 triangle. This is the first. Alright. Whoop. So now we can do R1X. We can do the pretzel drop. I mean, he's already dead. If he survived, we could have just used our Muso attack to like top off the rest of that. So you can definitely do like cool stuff like that. You can set him up with square, 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 triangle, so that you can use his other R1s. So yeah, we're getting all these attacks out here, going ham. Oh, Garp just got knocked away. I didn't really set that up. So alright, we take it. So that whole sequence, Garp was like at pretty much full health, and that whole sequence pretty much killed him, even though I didn't even position it perfectly. But yeah, you can kind of see the power of like combining all of his different options, and this is really strong for a speed type like Cracker, because as you know in this game, like speed types are a little on the lacking side damage wise. I mean, I guess if you talk about R1s, they can be pretty strong, because Tashigi has some strong R1 setups. Trying to think who else. Trying to think of other speed types. Carrot can have some okay R1 setups. So I guess in regards to like most speed types, he does get his damage from R1s like they do. But I think the best thing about him is that he just has better crowd control. Like he has a lot more range, a lot more crowd control compared to other speed types, because some of these speed types are lacking in that crowd control. So he can really just hit the screen hard with a lot of like big strong attacks. And that's definitely something that's more unique, and I feel like they intentionally designed him that way based on other speed types just sort of lacking. So Cracker just ends up being a really strong speed type, as well as having a lot of fun gameplay elements to him. Anyways, I hope this guide was useful to you all, and see you on the next one. Peace.